Hello, fellow classmates. I'm sure if you guys are like I am, you're busy, busy, busy. And throughout this assignment, with the interviews that we've had, man, I've learned a lot. So this is special education interviews. I interviewed our assistant principal and our technology assistant and our special education leader. So what I'll start with the administrator first, and then I'll go to our technology assistant, and then I'll go with our special education teacher. So child find procedures. So what does this include? We get most of this information from our Department of Disability and Special Needs by their caseworkers. This organization is very important when it comes to identifying these young folks. And so that's most of the information that our assistant principal knows. Very limited information when it comes to actually identifying our special education students. Some of the folks have been identified, and I think they do a good job of locating these students through the 3K programs, according to our technology assistant. From our special education leader, I tell you, he's been here for 30 years and he is just absolutely phenomenal. I've learned so much through dealing with him. I've been here for 13 years, and so working with him over the past 13 years, he's also been our baseball coach, and so I've known him on a personal level as well as a professional level for quite some time. But he says they have the preschool programs in addition to the 3K programs, but preschool programs also help identify some of these students. And they actually have what they call a Lexington Fun Day. It looks like it offers vendors for family to assist in identifying children with disabilities. And then this program actually gives those children, once they are identified and they're in school, they're in the system, they'll be provided with the services once they enter public school. So learned a little bit about that, and that was pretty neat. The most challenging part of their role in regards to special education, from our assistant principal, she said basically making sure that we provide appropriate services, identifying the services that they need, and actually providing the appropriate services. She said sometimes our students, we only provide so many services at our school, and then other schools may provide other services, but yet that student may live in our attendance area, and so sometimes it's difficult to be able to provide all the appropriate services that that our students need. So our technology assistant that works some with special ed here says also working with teachers and staff. And I'll address this later on in the presentation as well, but students are easier than working with teachers and staff sometimes. So sometimes even though you put out the expectations, they're not always met. And so making sure that teachers actually follow the accommodations that are required by the state, by law, but teachers are difficult sometimes to deal with. And so our special education teacher said basically the IEPs, you have to follow those, making sure that you address each child's needs at all times. When you have a class of 10 to 12, it's hard to address each child, especially when they really need one-on-one. Maybe they have mobility issues, maybe they're nonverbal, and some have behavioral issues. So you have such a variety of different needs. It's very difficult sometimes to meet each child's needs. So what is the most rewarding? And this is where, you kind of get teary-eyed sometime when it comes to the most rewarding with some of these students. Our administrator said basically seeing those success stories. So seeing that student that will actually learn to interact with regular ed students. She told me about one kid that when he first got there as a 9th grader, he would come in and he would just zoom through the cafeteria. And now he sits and he eats with regular ed students, and it's a really cool thing for her to see. One of the rewarding things too is finding teachers that are willing to take these special ed students, not necessarily with just IEPs and 504s and things of that nature, but taking some of the more, I guess, difficult students, if you will. They're not really difficult, but taking some of the more severe students, I guess I should say, that's a better way to put it, and matching those students with the right teacher. So finding those teachers that are empathetic towards some of these students that do have special needs. and matching them with the correct students and having them succeed in their classroom. And then our special ed teacher said that basically when they become productive citizens in the community is his reward. So he sends some of these kids out into the community, they get jobs, they are productive citizens in our community, and that's a win-win for him. Advice on supervision of special education staff from our, excuse me, I've got a cold, from our administrator. Communication is the key. So communication from administration to special ed staff, from special ed staff to teachers, and administration to teachers, basically letting them know the expectations. From our technology staff, students are easier to work with again than staff. So making sure that the special education makes a bond with the teachers to let their expectations known, but also educate the staff in, what's required of them. This is law. This is not just a request from our special education staff. So I think the biggest thing there is just communication again. And then from our special ed teacher, the instructional assistants are the backbone of the program. So sometimes they may feel inferior. Sometimes they don't get paid very much. And so making these people feel like they're important and an important piece of their program, because they really are. So supervision of a special education staff from your administrators, realize that IAs are important. Don't allow them to be the first ones cut. Encourage them, have their back. That's the biggest thing there with supervision of special education staff. So how to work effectively with parents. From our administrator, listen to their needs. Parents are going to worry. They have a child with special needs. They're dropping them off at public school. They're going to worry. So listen to the parents, listen to their needs, and work with them on that. Make them feel like this is a safe environment in which it should be. Technology assistant said no information from other staff members. So if you're talking about speech pathologist, occupational therapist, physical therapist, make sure everybody's on the same page. And so making sure that all the staff members are on the same page makes it easier to deal with parents. And then the special education teacher said basically the teacher communicates with the parents. So even though the instructional assistants know a great deal about these students and they do a great job, the actual teacher should be the one to communicate with parents, especially when there's issues. There's nothing wrong with an instructional assistant talking with parents, but when there's an issue that comes up, that really needs to be the teacher's responsibility. How to work with regular ed teachers. Again, from administrative staff, set expectations. You know that you've got to do it. You need to go to your IEPs. You need to follow your 504s, your IEPs, anything that is set in stone for these teachers to be able to follow for the child's success. And that's the biggest thing I think that we have to remember. And this is for the child's success in your classroom. So making sure that to set expectations and set them high and make sure that they're expected to follow those accommodations. Good rapport with teachers. I think that's really important, coming from the special ed teachers to the teachers, is making sure that there's just a good rapport. There's a good working relationship there. That's got to be fostered. And then lastly, don't overburden good teachers willing to work with special ed students. Not every teacher is willing to take special needs students, but some teachers are, and you don't want to overwork those teachers that are willing to accept some of those students. Advice for first-year administrators from administration itself: listen and don't promise the world. So make sure that if you're an administrator coming into an administrative position for the first time, you're going to have parents that come in, they're going to have concerns, they're going to have a needy child, but you cannot promise the world. If you don't have services, you cannot promise services. And so make sure that you don't overpromise to a parent. You're going to be empathetic towards these parents. Your heart's going to go out to them, but don't promise the world. From our technology assistant, get to know your special ed staff. That's a big key there for everyone in the building, is to get to know your special ed staff, but especially your administrators. Build a relationship with your special education staff. They're going to know more about their students than you ever will. So you will depend on those people tremendously. So get to know them. Be supportive of your special ed staff. Go see them. Go sit in their classroom. You know, for one, it's going to be different than your daily duties, so go sit in there. I think it'll be eye-opening for you. Role of the special education teacher and the principal. Very important relationship there. Again, the special education teacher will know more about their own students than an administrator will, but an administrator still has to handle some of those issues that come up in the special education department. So you really will become dependent upon the special education teacher, so foster that bond between you as a principal and the special education teacher. From our technology assistant, the special education department is no different or no less important than English or math. So special education at our school is top-notch, and it's treated as such. For 30 years, our special education teacher said he's had the most supportive administration, and that means the world to him. So the relationship there needs to be a supportive support from the administration. Characteristics of an aspiring administrator. Again, a lot of that comes back or goes back to the advice, but don't make decisions in isolation. There are other people around you that can assist you in making decisions, especially when it becomes associated with special education. So don't make decisions on an island. Don't make decisions by yourself in isolation. There are other people around. So talk to people. Talk to your special education teachers. They will help you. Be thoughtful and be a good listener. Again, listen to your parents. Listen to your special education teachers. They will tell you what they need. And lastly, be active in your special education department. Visit the classes. Visit the classes that these special needs students are going into. Visit your classes. Again, develop that relationship. Reflection. I still have a lot to learn, especially when it comes to special education. I'm so thankful for this class, and I know we're just getting started, but I still have a lot to learn just by interviewing these three awesome individuals. I still have a lot to learn. Be a good listener. So it's one of the things that came from all three of these individuals was to be a good listener on both ends or on all ends. Whether you're an administrator, you're a regular ed teacher, you're a special ed teacher, you're a custodian. Be a good listener. It doesn't matter who you are. Get more involved now as a regular education teacher. I think I could learn a lot by involving myself more with the special education department and program. I do have one student right now that works with me after school, and he is a special needs student, and he has brought so much joy to my life that it's hard to describe. So I want to get more involved even as a regular ed teacher. Evaluation, all three of these individuals were very empathetic towards the parents and the students. And so I think that all three of these people would do anything and everything to be able to have these students meet success. And then lastly, our special education teacher, I'm telling you, just by interviewing him, he has so much passion. He's so good at what he does, but he has so much passion, and you can see it or hear it in his voice. Projections, as a building leader for me, I need to know the laws regarding special education. I know there's a lot to learn there, and I know there's a lot of resources, but I need to start learning the laws now. Be thoughtful. And again, don't promise the world. I think that was one of the biggest things that jumped out to me in these interviews was don't promise the world. And lastly here, and probably most importantly, is be supportive and be a great liaison between administration and special education. Again, fostering those relationships. Relationships will get you further in this world than I think than so much knowledge will. So begin to foster those relationships, I think will be a great asset as a building leader. And thank you, and have a great day.